Tonight, we're taking a deep dive into a topic that surrounds a lot of the cases that we talk about here on the show each week. So typically, in Utah's Missing, we focus on cases, current cases, urgent pleas for help, or even cold cases to get new eyeballs on those people. Tonight, we're looking at a bill that would implement a purple alert in Utah. Earlier today, Ariel Harrison spoke with the bill sponsor, Senator Jen Plum, on Utah's Capitol Hill.
It's a bill that came to me by some concerned community members and constituents. Knowing that I have a heart in protecting vulnerable populations, they were really worried about our ability to communicate via public safety alerts, our police departments, our community responders. If there was someone who had the real kind of unique communication spaces around someone, say, with autism, and they wanted us to have a way that we could alert the public, hey, we've got someone who needs us. We don't have the most typical ways to communicate about them. Here's what we want to do. And they presented this concept of a purple alert, which has been adopted in other states. Talked with our public safety people, Salt Lake City PD, parents, the disability community, because we wanted to be very careful not to stigmatize, right? We didn't want to draw negative attention or imply anything other than that this was a solution for a population that needs a unique solution. And the bill thus far has been really well received. I'm super grateful to get it out of committee today and for all the support it's getting.
Well, talking about SB 128, the bill, quote, creates the Purple Alert notification system to be implemented and administered by the Department of Public Safety to assist with locating missing and endangered vulnerable individuals in certain circumstances. Right now, it is written, by the way, as a vulnerable individual referring to an adult or a minor, so it encompasses both. The Purple Alert system is active in some states, as you just heard from Senator Plum. Utah doesn't have this, but instead has a missing endangered advisory, which is sent out by the Department of Public Safety. Let's take a nice deep dive on the public safety alert system tonight here on Utah's Missing. Lee Perry, kind enough to join us, former Utah State Rep, longtime highway patrolman, keeping himself quite busy as a county commissioner in Box Elder County. Lee, thanks for joining us tonight. I'm glad you're able to do this here after a long day of meetings. We appreciate you. You are an interesting person to talk about this topic because you helped implement the Silver Alert here in Utah. What was that process like?
The Silver Alert was actually very gratifying when we got it done. What happened is I lost a constituent up here. I was the state representative for this area in Box Elder and Weber County. And one of our residents that had dementia got in a car, drove away, ended up over in Cache Valley. And even though they were looking all over the place, they didn't happen to look over there. And after 3 days, they found the individual was frozen to death and had basically succumbed to his being out in the element. And it was sad because I think with a simple system where we could put out the alert in a geographic area, he would have clearly been found because we would have put out the description of the vehicle he was in and a few other things spread wider. And we probably would have found him before he passed away, and we could have kept him alive and been with his family. And so we went to the system, wrote a bill. We knew other states had it. One of the things that I chose to do is not do a shotgun approach where we do the whole state, but make it very geographically focused. So if we know that somebody's in a car, it's a bigger geographic area. But if they just walked away, we focus in that area where it's at. Because the more people geographically we get that message to, the more likely we are to find those individuals. So the Silver Alert's been very successful. And I'm quite excited when I heard about this idea of a Purple Alert because those people are also vulnerable and need to be found.
Full transparency here, Lee. I called you a few months ago and I said, hey, what would it look like in the state of Utah if we were to do this? And at that point, I didn't know it was being pushed. I came to you almost for some advice, just being very honest with people, hoping to push the bill or at least help get it to somebody to have a conversation, because I've spoken with family member after family member, specifically here Wednesday nights when we do a missing persons program, where somebody says to me, oh, I wish there was an alert for so-and-so, or my so-and-so didn't get the alert. Now, not everybody qualifies in a criteria for an alert. Purple is very interesting. Typically with cognitive issues, we talk a lot about autism or somebody that has some sort of developmental issue that they require some additional assistance in. Purple Alert is kind of interesting because very few states have this. But in your experience as a leader in your community, which you're still doing, how would this benefit the state of Utah in terms of quicker awareness? You were also a longtime member of law enforcement, responding to these calls and working on them. What would this do in Utah, Lee?
I think the public wants to help us out. I think when you have a crisis situation, if they can be given the information, they want to help. That's why we did the silver alert. Is we said if we can get the information in front of the public saw this truck of this older gentleman several times. They never bothered to go over and make contact because they weren't aware that this person was a missing person. But if you can get that information out into people's hands through blast to cell phones or information similar to the Amber Alert, but maybe not quite as widespread, and get people to start thinking about it and start looking for these people, hundreds of eyes on something is far more effective than one or two officers driving around a neighborhood. There's just not enough police officers out there to search to find somebody when they go missing, whether it's an elderly person or somebody who has a diminished intellectual capacity that doesn't understand. And then the other side is by putting this information out in front of people, it's not to stigmatize, but warn people, this person may run from you because of some of these issues. And so report it to law enforcement, get the right people there to help them get help they need and get them back with their family.
And it also would help probably law enforcement have a better understanding of the individual, I would imagine, that they're looking for, right? Maybe mannerisms. Do they run from you? Are they open to conversation? Are they verbal? Like, what is that like, being on the responding end, Lee, not knowing really, I mean, any day you would get a call like this, but not knowing what sort of response you may get from somebody that's in this situation?
Right. In fact, prior to getting out of law enforcement, retiring from law enforcement, we were given training on how to deal with, especially like autistic people and folks that may not interact well with strangers or people they don't know. And some things that we learned is some people don't like to be touched. So you can't go up and start putting hands on or putting your arm around them or anything like that, because they may react violently. And it's not that they hate you. It's just, it's part of how they are. So understanding that up front will help the law enforcement officers who interact with them to know how to best interact. And we are training our law enforcement community on how to deal with these individuals, but knowing up front that you are looking for that type of individual, or maybe you're not. Maybe you're just, in fact, I actually remember seeing a story on the Hive for the Highway Patrol where a trooper found a young man walking home from a game where he didn't get picked up by his mom. And it talked about how this case wasn't somebody that was autistic or intellectually, but it was interesting. The boy was a little standoffish about wanting to get in the trooper's car, letting the trooper know that he was having to walk home. So understanding the kind of people we're running into out there can make a huge difference on helping to get people safely back to their loved ones.
I'm glad you brought up that Ride with the Hive episode. I think about that one frequently. It was a moment out in Tooele, and you should go on the Department of Public Safety's YouTube page and watch Ride with the Hive. We featured that on this program as well. I only have you for another minute here. The Silver Alert would be very similar to what this Purple Alert is. It's localized, it's highway signage, it's not blasted per se in a statewide alert all over the phone. You feel like that's the right approach?
I think getting it on the signage, one of the things I've encouraged, or I would like people to think about, is maybe even getting it, especially in Salt Lake area, Weber County area where we have UTA, maybe getting it blasted over to UTA to look for these people on buses and mass transit, getting into those folks' hands. Again, the more eyes you've got out there looking, the better off we are. There's not enough law enforcement folks out there to help us. And so the more eyes, the more people we have involved. It's like, see something, say something. It fits in this case too.
Congratulations on the years later of what Silver Alert has become here in Utah. Obviously, you're a major part of that. And we will see. Maybe we'll have to chat again if Purple Alert does or does not move through. It's still very early in the session, and I know you remember those days. I
do, and it takes a long time, but she's still got 30 or 40 days here left to go. And so we congratulate Senator Plum for taking this action, and I'm hopeful that the legislators will look at this and maybe we can get it done this session. That would be great.
Former state rep. Go ahead, Lee.
Oh, I was just going to say, it took me 2 sessions to get the Silver Alert through. So I'm hoping she can do it in 1, because that would be even better for the people that need it.
Well, you wouldn't be surprised then if it did come to that, tweaking language and getting more support, right? She was saying today that she felt like she had pretty good support, but sounds like things change rather quickly on Utah's Capitol Hill. Is that right?
They do change quickly, but the cool part is the Silver Alert gives them something to look at that's similar nature, so it should be easier for them to accept it, knowing how well Silver Alert's working.
All right, Lee, thank you for making time for us tonight, and of course on the successes over the years working for the people in Box Elder County, which you continue to do. Thanks for the time tonight.
Thank you. Take care.